Who was Marie Soldat-Roeger? Originally, I thought there were not as many successful women violinists as men in the 19th and early 20th century, but I'm actually realizing that there were quite a few very talented women violinists, and Marie Soldat-Roeger is a noteworthy example. She was a violin virtuoso who was active in orchestral and chamber music in the Vienna of the late 19th and early 20th century. She was a pupil of violin master Joachim, and she formed a string quartet made up entirely of women in Berlin, which was somewhat revolutionary at the time. She had a creditable career and appeared in all the principal cities of Germany. She didn't have an easy life. There were family challenges, and she also lived through 2 world wars. But as we'll see, she pushed on through and was admired by major composers and violinists of her day. Marie Soldat-Roeger was born Maria Ernestin Soldat in Graz, Styria, Austria. She was born on March 25th, 1863, and she died in Graz on September 30th, 1955. She lived for 92 years. Marie grew up in a musical, middle-class family. Her mother, Franziska, née Baudolf, was a seamstress. Her father, Julius Soldat, was an organist at the Lichtkirche in Graz, choir director and also piano teacher at the Musikschule Buva. So, Soldat was the daughter of a musician who instructed her on the piano from her 5th year. By the time she was 7, she frequently took her father's place as organist in one of the Graz churches. Meanwhile, she took up the violin and, by 10 years of age, played one of Vieuxtemps' pieces in a concert at the Musical Union. Although promising as a pianist, her father had insisted that she take up the violin at age 9 in 1872. So only 1 year elapsed from the start of her playing the violin to performing Vieuxtemps on the stage, which is quite incredible. Her paternal grandfather, Alois Soldat, was also a musician in Graz. Of 5 children, only Marie and her brother survived. Marie became a pupil on the violin of Eduard Pleiner. Pleiner was a family friend, leader of the Graz Opera Orchestra, and associated with the Styrian Music Association. And he taught her until his death in 1877. When only 11, she went on tour as a concert violinist, and her career throughout was a most successful one. It was in 1874 that she performed Henri Vieuxtemps' Fantasie Caprice Opus 11 at a Steiermark-Kirche Musikverein concert in Graz under Pleiner's direction. Following Marie's father's sudden death in 1876, the family was faced with financial difficulties. She would have been just 12 or 13 at the time. But Soldat stepped up at this young age and contributed through teaching and performances, whilst at the same time continuing her studies, supporting her family through a difficult time, and perhaps this gave her more of a purpose and a drive to succeed as well. Her other teachers included Johann Lutzer and August Pottel of Graz, who was a Spohr pupil, and she also studied composition and harmony with Ferdinand Heinrich Thierry, the chapel master. In 1875, she performed with pianist Voigt in Gleichenberg, Hungary. And her first solo recital took place in January 1876 at the Grazer Rittersaal. Then came a small concert tour including Sauerbrunn, Laibach, Villach and Pertschar. During the Pertschar performance, the great Johannes Brahms heard her play and recommended her to Joachim. She auditioned for Joachim later that year in Salzburg, with Brahms himself accompanying at the piano. In late 1879, Marie Soldat relocated to Berlin to study violin at the Hochschule für Musik under Joseph Joachim, who'd recognized her talent and offered her a place in his class. Joachim, renowned for his interpretation of classical repertoire and influence on violin technique, provided rigorous training emphasizing precision, musicality and ensemble playing. And it was whilst she was studying with Joachim at the Berlin Hochschule für Musik that she actually won the Mendelssohn Prize in 1880. And then she graduated in 1882 after 3 years of study. which was followed by 3 additional years of private lessons with Joachim. Marie Soldat also became friends with Marie Baumeier, an Austrian pianist. Baumeier was friends with Clara Wittgenstein, part of the important Wittgenstein family, and also with Johannes Brahms. She was only a girl of 15 when she was discovered by Brahms, but this ultimately led to her giving the Viennese premiere of his violin concerto under conductor Hans Richter with the Vienna Philharmonic. For many years, she was the only woman to play Brahms' violin concerto. In the mid-1880s, Soldat toured extensively across Germany and Austria, solidifying her status as a leading virtuoso. A notable highlight was her Berlin recital in 1885, where she performed the Brahms violin concerto for its second hearing in the city, with Joachim himself conducting the orchestra, a testament to her close ties with the Master's Circle. Critics praised her vigorous bowing, pure tone and intelligent phrasing, often likening her to a female Joachim. These engagements paved the way for her transition to broader orchestral roles in the late 1880s. During the peak of her career in the 1890s and up to the 1910s, Marie Soldat-Roeger established herself as a leading violin soloist in Vienna, frequently appearing with major orchestras and under prominent conductors. Her London debut took place on March 1, 1888, at St James's Hall, featuring the Brahms concerto under Charles Villiers Stanford. Critics in the Musical Times lauded her as a female Joachim for her vigorous execution and mastery. These tours, peaking in the pre-World War I years, included performances for European royalty and high society. When she formed the all-female string quartet, the Soldat-Roeger Quartet, in which she played first violin, she was joined by Agnes Seschulin, who played second violin, Gabriella Roy played viola, and Lucy Herbert Campbell played cello. The group toured and was managed by the Hermann Wolf Agency, which also managed the Berlin Philharmonic. And there was some change of personnel, with Nathalie Bauer-Lechner also playing viola, Elsa Edler von Planck as second violinist, replacing Ella Finger-Balletti in 1898, and Leontine Gärtner as cellist, replacing Lucy Herbert Campbell in 1903. The group was billed as the world's first all-female professional string quartet. Under Soldat-Roeger's direction, the quartet expanded its repertoire from core classical works by composers such as Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, Schumann and Brahms, to include contemporary compositions starting in 1897. Exemplified by the premiere of Silvio Lazzari's String Quartet in A minor in 1903. The innovative approach of the quartet highlighted modern string music while maintaining the Joachim School's emphasis on interpretative depth and ensemble unity. The ensemble's success challenged gender barriers in chamber music, as professional orchestras and teaching positions remained largely inaccessible to women, positioning the Soldat-Roeger Quartet as formidable competition to established male groups like the Rosé and Helmersberger quartets. Yes, this was an all-female ensemble that challenged gender norms in classical music and performed widely, promoting works by Brahms, Beethoven and contemporaries. And this quartet would perform at Soirées Musicales presenting modern music. In 1889, Marie Soldat married the Viennese police commissioner Wilhelm Roeger, adopting the hyphenated surname Soldat-Roeger to reflect her professional identity while honouring her new marital status. Later the couple moved to Limbach, where their son Joseph was born in 1890. He lived until 1978. The marriage ended in separation though around 1892, after which Soldat-Roeger returned to Vienna supporting the family financially while her mother cared for the child. This allowed her to continue her demanding career with focus on her musical engagements, so she was kind of a professional single mother. Following World War I, Marie Soldat-Roeger's public performances diminished significantly due to her advancing age and the disruptions caused by the war's aftermath, leading her into a phase of semi-retirement by the 1920s. But it was around this time that she made some early recordings. And these rare recordings were made in 1921 and captured her refined style characterized by precise legato, subtle rubato and minimal vibrato, hallmarks of the Joachim School. These acoustic era discs, including pieces by Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Spohr and Schumann, remain valuable artifacts of early 20th century violin performance practice and underscore her influence on subsequent generations of female musicians. She continued with private chamber performances later in life. During the 1920s and the 1930s, she supplemented her income through private teaching in Vienna and Graz, where her student roster grew steadily, though she held no formal position at a conservatory, despite Eduard Hanslick's 1897 suggestion to appoint her. In 1938, though, she was honoured an honorary professorship by the Gesellschaft der Musikfreunde. After World War II, amid the post-war upheavals, Soldat-Roeger returned to her hometown of Graz, where she lived a comparatively private and quiet life as a reclusive figure in her later decades. Soldat-Roeger died on September 30th, 1955 in Graz at the ripe old age of 92. Let's look at a couple of violins that she played on. First we have the 1742 Soldat Guarneri del Gesù. Marie Soldat was an early advocate of the concerto and used this 1742 del Gesù as her main instrument from 1899. It was bought for her use by the head of the music-loving Viennese Wittgenstein family, Baron Karl. Another member of the clan sponsored her string quartet. All her Brahms concerto performances from then on were given on this instrument, including one in Cologne in 1903 with Brahms' favourite conductor, Fritz Steinbach, and the young Adolf Busch was present also, and one in Leipzig in 1905 with Arthur Nikisch. Now known as the Soldat, this violin is played by Rachel Barton Pine, who has recorded the concerto on it. She also played on the 1708 Tour Marie Soldat rivals Mazur de Toulouse Antonio Stradivari. I had the privilege of seeing this instrument when I visited the Cité de la Musique in Paris in 2025. Some concluding comments then. Marie Soldat-Roeger was an Austrian violin virtuoso renowned for her technical prowess, known for her close associations with composers Johannes Brahms and Joseph Joachim, and her pioneering role in establishing one of the first prominent all-female string quartets in Vienna. She became one of the few women to perform major concerto repertoire in major European concert halls during an era dominated by male performers. Marie Soldat-Roeger broke significant ground as one of the few female violin soloists performing in the male-dominated orchestras and concert halls of the late 19th century.